Today, I'm in the Cotswold Hills, a beautiful part of England. I'm at the Hook Norton Brewery. This is a family-owned business. It's been operating on this site since 1849. I'm here to meet James Clark. James is the managing director and the fifth generation in his family to run the brewery. Let's go find him. James.
Hi, good afternoon.
Great to meet you, great to meet you. I guess this is the engine room.
This is our steam engine installed back in 1899, and originally this would have been the source of the motive power for all of the brewing operations.
Interesting. I expect to see stainless steel and computer screens when I visit production facilities. I guess you've got a mix of the old and new here.
Yes, we are very lucky being in an old building, and I think it's quite important with our identity now, as we do have a great respect for the past, but we mustn't live in it. We must continue to innovate. So it's absolutely important we have the best sort of food grade materials and procedures and processes. And I always joke that if great-great-grandfather could have had access to stainless steel, he certainly would have done.
And what have been the big changes?
I think the main innovation has been in products, and we've really driven by changing consumer patterns. I've been at the brewery for 30 years. When I started, we brewed 3 beers, for example, and at that time, 90% of the beer consumed in the UK was consumed in pubs, clubs, restaurants, hotels. 30 years later, over half the beer consumed in the UK is now consumed at home. There's also been a huge growth in consumer demand in terms of provenance, and I think certainly the beers we're producing very much follows the sort of slow food movement. So we've increased the range massively. We're even producing a lager now, which some would say, what would your father have said about that? I said, well, there would have been a wry smile, and now about 10% of our weekly output of draft beer is our lager. But at the same time, we have to be absolutely loyal and committed to our established cask conditioned beers that really are our mainstay. So this is one of our mash tuns, and this is where we actually start our brewing process.
And this process hasn't changed since 1849?
No, it hasn't changed in terms of making beer forever, really. This is where the brewer would have planned all the recipes, kept all the logs. I can remember my grandfather sitting here with this aroma of pipe tobacco, and after that my father with the smell of a Hamlet cigar probably.
And they lived and worked through different monarchs, 2 world wars, of course, and then in March 2020 we had a pandemic.
Yeah, it's unprecedented for something like this to happen on my watch, goodness me. You look at the 2 world wars and the pubs didn't close then. If anything, the pubs were kept open to provide some community focal point for people. The only thing the war did really hit with beer was the strength was reduced. And yeah, then into lockdown, where at the strike of a pen, pubs were shut for an unknown period of time. And we had all sorts of issues. We had obviously operational issues. We had beer in progress, beer that we brewed and nowhere for it to go. Beer-wise, we managed to salvage a lot of that. We sent it off for packaging into bottling. We already had a fledgling online business which just ramped up very, very quickly, and that was one of the main saviours of us. But the toughest part, I think, was the staff. We'd said that there's going to be some significant pay cuts straight away, and this was a couple of days before the furlough announcement. But the really hard thing, I think, was not telling them that. The hard thing was not knowing, would they have a job to come back to? Would we have a business to come back to? But the support from all of the people that run our pubs, all of the people that work here, and all of our sort of independent customers, without that, I think I probably wouldn't have got through.
Yeah.
So these are our stables. We have 3 horses, and these are actually the original stables dating back to 1894.
And do they make deliveries still?
But yes, local delivery is very important, and we're very keen to educate the public more about shires, because I understand there are more breeding pandas in the world than breeding shire horse mares. So we're heading along to the boardroom now. These are the original sort of admin and finance offices. This particular building was built in 1896, and the boardroom is obviously where meetings would have been held. But interestingly, you'll see around the edge there's these ledger desks, and they were all around this room. Some people say they should be in a museum. I said, well, I think they should be here, really.
So a lot of people, when they move jobs and move up the ladder, they start at a different organisation, and there isn't the same history and connections with people. You've made moves within the organisation, and one day you're working alongside people and the next you're their boss. How have you managed that?
I think a part of it is the transition wasn't too quick, and I think it's also acknowledging the fact that being part of the family is a huge privilege, but in no way does it give you any rights to anything. And you've got to be absolutely committed to it. And I think that commitment has to be at a level that if you felt it wasn't for you, you have to be honest and say that, because there are so many other livelihoods effectively linked to that.
So in the history of the business, you will be the guy who's managed it through the pandemic. Over 170 years of history so far. What will be the secret to success for the next 170 years?
I think it's a lot of respect. It's appreciation of all these solid bedrocks that we've got here, but it is also being innovative and moving forward and looking at new products. We acknowledge the fact that people are drinking a bit less beer, but drinking better quality and a bigger repertoire, and that links to our pubs as well, so people have lovely places to go and eat and drink and enjoy our beers. Some community pubs are actually, I think, performing better now than before, because they found an identity. So the local, the community, that's been really strong post-pandemic, but that pales into insignificance compared to the effort and support of the staff. And even now, as we're in the recovery phase and we're back to some sort of normality, everybody is giving way over 100% of time and energy and commitment. And I think that was probably because we have long-term relationships, and that was quite humbling. Yes, we've looked after them in the past, or tried our best to, and now they're very much looking after us and the company.
Thank you, James. Cheers. Been a
Cheers.
pleasure meeting you. Thank you for showing me around the business and the real world insights into what it's like to lead.
My pleasure. Thank
Cheers.
you. Good health.
Oh, that's good.